Today I'm going to teach you the very basics of modern calligraphy. What is modern calligraphy, you ask? Unlike traditional copperplate calligraphy, like the writing used in the 18th century to write love letters, modern calligraphy puts a, more modern twist to this style. So basically, there's no pressure to follow the exact form you would use in traditional calligraphy. Instead, you can experiment with different techniques while integrating your own lettering style. Imperfections are also encouraged with modern calligraphy, so no need to worry if your letters aren't always precise and consistent. So with that, let me show you the very basics.
The materials you will need for this project are pens, a ruler, paper, and this is optional, but you can get calligraphy paper, which has angled lines that are really helpful for beginners. The rule of thumb for modern calligraphy and any calligraphy in general is that the downstrokes are thick and the upstrokes are thin. This simple rule will help you achieve the looks of modern calligraphy almost instantly. As you can see here, I'm using a good amount of pressure for my downstrokes, and for my upstrokes, I'm using very little pressure. After you're comfortable making these lines, you can practice making U-shapes and N-shapes by connecting your downstrokes and your upstrokes with a slight curve. Once you have the U-shapes and the N-shapes down, practice connecting the two to make a squiggly line. By doing this, you're building your hand's muscle memory to put more pressure when you go down and to lighten the pressure when you go up. As you can see here, I accidentally made one of my upstrokes too thick. This isn't good because then you can't differentiate between downstrokes and upstrokes, and it doesn't give you that modern calligraphy look. The pen I'm using in this shot and the pen that you saw in the beginning of the video is Tombow hard tip Fuden no Suke brush pen. One really cool thing about modern calligraphy is that you don't have to stick strictly to calligraphy pens. For example, this teal pen I'm using is a Pipsqueak Crayola marker, and it gives me really great results. A classic tool in the modern calligraphy world is Tombow's dual brush pens. If you know modern calligraphy, you're probably familiar with these pens. And these are really great for beginners because the flexible brush tip gives you a lot of control, so you can get thick downstrokes and thin upstrokes, and it's really helpful for practicing the technique. Calligraphy paper is a great tool to use when you're starting out. Even though modern calligraphy doesn't require precise letters, like I said earlier, calligraphy paper is just a good way to get used to the basic strokes that you'll be using for mostly all your lettering. I would also recommend practicing different size strokes, so when you make different projects, you're used to the same technique. This gray pen I'm using here is a double-ended marker. One side's a brush and the other side's a fine tip. It's from the brand Punctuate, and I got it in a 36-piece set from Barnes & Noble. I think we're ready to move on to an actual letter. Let's start with a lowercase n. Starting off with a thick downstroke, curve upwards with a light upstroke, and then curve back down with a thick downstroke. Let's try a lowercase p. Start with a long downstroke and curve upwards with a light upstroke, and then back down again. I'm going to be doing a separate video on the entire alphabet in modern calligraphy, so watch out for that. But for now, here is me practicing a few other letters. I think we're ready to move on to a full word. Before you panic, just remember that you're doing the same strokes and letters, but just connecting them. So starting off super basic, the word high. To write an H, make a long downstroke and then curve it upwards. Once you get to the end of the final downstroke of the H, you're going to curve it back upwards and start the I. Make sure you make this upstroke thin, and once you reach your desired height, make a thick downstroke and there's your I. Oh, and don't forget the little dot. Moving on to a slightly longer word, hello. I'm doing the same thing I did with the I, but with different letters. Just remember, every time you end a letter, you're going to end it with a thin upstroke, and then you could start your next letter with a thick downstroke. You can also adjust how thick and how thin you want your strokes to be. It all depends on the style of lettering you're going for. Even though you're still using the same rule of thumb, you'll be surprised at how many different styles you can achieve simply by changing the thickness of your lines. You could see the difference in this shot. I used the same technique for all three hellos, yet you could see that they look different. It all depends on how thick you make your lines. Changing the heights of your letters is another popular method in modern calligraphy. This first happy I wrote straight across, nothing too fancy, but the second happy I write below it, I'm changing the height and the placing of the letters. See how this totally just changes the whole look of the word? This is an easy way to change the flow of your calligraphy and make it fun. And remember, there's no wrong way to do this. I personally like to alternate between low and high to get that fun, whimsical look. And this is just another example of what changing the heights and placing of your letters can do to your calligraphy.
Congrats! You learned the very basics of modern calligraphy. Now go out into the world and practice your new skill. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.